Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. In an extraordinarily honest and open interview, Jim Sillars, veteran MSP, or SNP MP, should I say, has opened up to say it as it is, really. He's saying that the modern SNP government is a very poor government. It's very thin gruel. It has no talent. It has nothing to offer. He's saying there is nothing there because all the real stuff is driven away. And he's making some extraordinary claims, and I'm sitting there reading them and thinking, if this guy was around today, the SNP would perhaps be a viable party if there was more like him. Unfortunately, we'll never see his like again, I think. But Sillars is absolutely calling it out, saying it as it is, and I think it'll be very, very embarrassing to the current leadership of the party, and therefore the leadership of the country. They ought to listen to him deeply and perhaps take some advice on board. Let's have a look at this, but it just opens your eyes to show how candid someone who's removed can be about his own party. Here goes. So we've got this, it's in the Herald, and it's such an extraordinary interview that this man has given. And he's spoken truth. And when you speak truth unto power, of course, you run a great risk. But I don't suppose Jim Sillars is bothered by all that now. I mean, he is 86. There's not a lot they can do to him. His political career is very much in the past. And it was a much more embellished career than any of the ones today are ever going to hope to get. So he's saying that independence has been damaged by the current SNP, and this is absolutely bang on, I think. Jim Sillars is telling me, he said, this is by Kevin McKenna, he said, Jim Sillars is telling me about the moment more than a decade ago when he came close to chucking his SNP membership in the bin. I was once asked, he said, this is Jim Sillars talking, he said, I was once asked to be a supporting speaker at the adoption meeting of a candidate who is now in the Scottish Parliament. I came back from that meeting and said to Margot, this is his late wife, Margot MacDonald, that I had never been so politically embarrassed in my life by the vacuity of this candidate. I said to Margot, I'm finished. I can't believe this is happening. It was the worst performance I'd ever witnessed. Utter mediocrity. He said, for mediocrity to survive, it has to kill talent. And that is why there is an orchestrated attack on Kate Forbes and Joanna Cherry. Mediocrity has a vested interest in not having talent. No, because as soon as you get talent walking in the door, everyone looks at the mediocrity and says, yeah, you're rubbish. If you can keep the talent outside, then everyone inside thinks that you're good. And that is why Humza Yousaf has surrounded himself by fools, morons, idiots and arseholes. It's so that by surrounding himself by such useless people, he himself looks great. Put him in a room with talented individuals and you'll see exactly what kind of anus he truly is. My meeting with Mr. Sillars occurs as my support for independence hangs by a gossamer thread. Why would anyone want to be associated with a movement led by a political party so full of imposters and charlatans that it's redefined our concept of what failure looks like? Yet, a couple of hours or so in the company of this party grandee, who memorably governed for the SNP in 1988, rekindles hope. It's also a rebuke to those who, appalled by the stumbling and mumbling of Joe Biden and Donald Trump, believe that the role of older people in politics should be minimised. At 86, Jim Sillars is 5 years older than the American president, yet his powers of recall, analysis and lucidity are characteristic of a man still in his prime. I'm not going to go through the whole piece. I'll put a link to it, although you do have to go through the paywall if you want to read the Herald. I'm just wanting to make the point that Jim Sillars, sitting there now, retired, looks in and sees a party devoid of talent, devoid of intelligence, devoid of even a direction of travel. And the very few within the party who show promise, who show ability, who show intelligence, are attacked, castigated, run down, driven out. Driven out so far as to go and join the Tories in some cases. It's that bad within the party. Because they're so filled with nobodies and the useless and the fools and the charlatans and the crooks that anyone with integrity must be destroyed. They cannot have anyone leading the party who is in any way good, because it'll make the rest of them look like exactly what they are. That is why the SNP is in deep, deep trouble. A world of Jim Sillars, a world of Fergus Ewings, and yes, a world of Joanna Cherries. A party run by people like that, with that level of intelligence and decency. And the SNP would be a completely different party. It would even be liked. Alas, that's not to be. I'll round off and I'll come up. I think what Jim Sillars has put into his words should ring true. It should certainly resound like a doom bell among the hierarchy of the SNP. Any of the SNP seniority who read this interview, who understand what Jim Sillars is saying, really need to look at themselves, need to reassess the levels that they have in the party. Stop hiring people because they happen to be related to or married to or shagging someone else. There's an awful lot of incest in the SNP. It's all, who are you related to? What can I do for you? You know, pull each other up by the bootstraps and so forth. Rather than, yes, you're a talented person. You've got intelligence. You've got foresight. You've got an analytical mind. You can see a problem and find a solution to it. There's none of that. None of them have that level of intelligence. There's some that are decent. Of course there are. There's some that are even good. But the decent ones and the good ones are on the extreme. They're laughed at. They're pushed aside. One only has to see how Fergus Ewing was treated, how Joanna Cherry is treated. They're two just at random. There are a few others. Not many, but there are a few. But just think of how many of them are crooks or charlatans or incompetent or just plain stupid and talentless. You only have to listen to some of the things they say and you realise that you're dealing with a crowd of morons led by an idiot. Anyway, I shall round off there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Thanks. Bye.